Welcome back to Cards and Comics. Today is the first mail day of 2024. As always, things come in, just kind of whenever. So some of these, most of this was bought, in 23. Just kind of straggled in over the months in the time period where I was gone traveling. So came back, some fun stuff. Some stuff had come in, but I wanted to wait and do kind of all this at one time. So we're going to start here with some kind of, other stuff first. One thing is, I actually got a Christmas present from ComC. You heard me right. They actually sent me something in the mail. It wasn't truly from ComC directly. It was from their comic book division, Collect Forever. So I do buy a lot of comic books on Collect Forever, and I'm going to zoom out a little bit so you can kind of the wrong way. So maybe you can see it when I put it on the screen here. But they sent me this comic book for free. This is so cool. It's Batman Spawn, number 1, and it's the 1 in 25 black and white Fabok variant. And you can see on the back it says Jason Fabok cover. Now, the thing that's cool about this, other than just the fact I got a free comic book for, thank you for being such a good customer, which I think other companies in this hobby space need to kind of think about this a little bit more. Like your breakers that you deal with, are people like, doing any kind of rewards, any sort of thank you? And this is kind of cool because I wasn't really expecting any kind of gift for just, buying comic books and having fun with the site. But yeah, it's a pretty cool book. It's a Batman Spawn. But the other thing that's cool is I've never had a book from this company, Collect Forever, in their new soft sleeve, which kind of looks like a mini graded book, but it's a heat sealed. You can see it's sealed. I believe that looks like a heat seal, not a sonic seal. But it's sealed, and that it's cool. It's like a soft, it's not hard plastic, it's soft, but it's their kind of how they seal up the comic books. So when you order them, this is how they come. It's the first time I've ever seen it, so I'm really kind of cool. It's a cool way of doing it. And I have a bunch of books on the website. I've never had them sent to me, so here you go. I thought that was pretty neat to get a free comic book just for being a customer. All right, starting out, just with modern baseball cards, or we'll go 90s baseball cards. We'll go there, right? Start right here, and zoom back in a little bit. Oh. All right, so let's start here. This is a 1998, I believe, 98. 97 Pinnacle. Artist proof from the regular set. This is, I'm trying to think. I always get New Pinnacle and Pinnacle mixed up. I don't know why. This is New Pinnacle because it's the colors, right? Man, 90s so confusing sometimes. But here we go. All right. So this is a blue. It's really cool. It does almost like color match his uniform. And it's Ivan Rodriguez. I've been doing a lot more Ivan Rodriguez collecting. Now, the only thing that's bad about this card, and of course, when you get a card like this in and it's been sitting in your box for a couple weeks, is, I don't know if you can see it, it's got right there by the bat. You see that little crease wrinkle? Now, sometimes on these cards, these Dufex cards, the way they made these cards with these layers, sometimes you get a wrinkle when they press that layer down, or it could have happened in shipping or whatever, but obviously I prefer not to have that on the card because that, definitely looks like it's something that it's going to affect a grade for sure. It's not a very expensive card, so it's not like I spent, a couple $100. If this was a Griffey, I obviously would probably still consider returning it. I think I'm just going to put it in the collection and chalk it up to being, like buy a lot of cards. You're going to get a few that have something like that. And it wasn't very expensive, so it's okay for now. But definitely not enjoying having a card like that with some damage. Next up is a card I really like when I got it in hand. It's the 1996 Pinnacle This came out of the Starburst box set, and they had artist proofs as kind of inserts, and you can see this is the Jeter, and you can see the artist proof logo in the background. Just a really great use of the technology and just really attractive card. Not too expensive. I do like that. It says rookie on it. It's still from '96, so a little 3 years after his true rookie, but he just, I think, came out in '95. And did his first, had 48 at bats in '95. So I guess theoretically this would be his normal rookie card if we didn't have all the Bowman and SP stuff that came out before it. But there you go. That's like a '96 artist proof from the Starburst box set. Cool card. Next is, again, I'm putting together, I like all these refractors from the '99 Bowman Spec set. Here I got a combo deal on 2 Mike Piazzas. So here's the first one. That's the best performer. And they're numbered out of 400, which you can kind of see right there. But yeah, like there you go. That's the kind of subset refractor, '99 Bowman's Best. And then I also got the base. And in a prior video, or earlier video, I got the atomic of this card. So all I need now is the atomic new performers. I'll have all the Mike Piazza cards in the set as a refractor. And there you go. That's the base refractor, numbered again out of 400. That's pretty cool. So now I have the base refractor and the atomic for the Mike Piazza. So I just love picking up these 99s. Really cool looking cards. And next up, moving on to some football, I got some Barry Sanders cards. So here is from Pinnacle Inscriptions. This is 1997. This is the artist proof. And these artist proofs are really nice looking cards. Again, they're very similar to that design as the Ivan Rodriguez I just showed you right here. That same kind of artist proof logo, the Dufex. But the Dufex background's a little different. You can see it's got more of like a Sparks kind of motif, like kind of like, or, that kind of that line work there. So I think it's a cool looking card. This is a subset, I believe, the next level. So it's not the base card, but it's a really nice Barry Sanders artist proof card from Pinnacle Inscriptions. Again, 1997. Again, they went bankrupt the very next year, so this is the last year for most cards from Pinnacle. There's a bunch of bankruptcy cards from '98. I've talked about a few of them. From different sets. So some sets were released, some were backdoored, some just, had checklists that were never issued. So I've seen more baseball cards backdoored out of '98 than I've seen football, but there you go. '97 Pinnacle Inscriptions artist proof, Barry Sanders. Next up is a Topps Finest. This is 1998. Barry Sanders base refractor. There you go. And again, that's got the peel on, which again, I'm not much of a peeler, unless the peel has been damaged. So if I look down here and the corner is already up, or it's all scratched up or whatever, I would peel it then. If the peel looks in good shape, I keep it on. I will say this too is I view this kind of like the issue with comic books where you have the newsstand comic books which were issued on the newsstand, so they had more damage because, theoretically for some, so it's complicated, but in theory they had more damage because they were out for kids to bend over and read, and the stuff went to comic book stores, direct editions, were more protected. Same thing here is the protector took all the damage to the surface, so it's going to be harder to find the protector cards in good shape, and the pop reports do kind of reflect that. But we haven't seen much of a pricing difference when I see, a high grade version of this card, with a protector versus no protector. I think maybe one of these days that'll be something. So that's why I haven't peeled too much. But if it never happens, then I probably, if I start grading a lot, it's always going to be a good idea to peel because you normally get higher grades. But right now I'm just keeping the card as is, and I'm working on an SGC order. I'm going to do an SGC before I do PSA. I got a few cards that to me aren't worth the I don't say the price of the money, but to me they're fine to go SGC because they're more PC cards and they're more cards I just want to have encapsulated for my collection. I'm not really looking for the resale side of it. I'm not looking to sell them, which I would more use PSA. So I'm going to have a SGC order pretty soon, but I'm also getting ready to do some PSA cards pretty quickly as well in January. So I'm going to be doing both a PSA and SGC order, and I got to figure out where like this kind of card I would normally grade at some point. So because it's in really good shape, it's a nice card, and I think it could grade it could be a possible 10. So it might go to PSA pretty soon. Here's a guy that I just started collecting a lot of. In fact, I've been snapping up cards on ComC of Reggie White whenever I can. Here's the 96 Finest Bronze Refractor. Beautiful card. It's really nice. They did a great job on these on the football set. And again, just the fact that they're double-sided refractors is just cool as heck, even on the bronze. Just really nice card, and I really think Reggie White's pretty undervalued, honestly. If you look at his prices, even compared to like Lawrence Taylor or some other defensive players, if you read a lot about him or go to the documentaries about the 90s, and even what people say about him today, is a lot of people still say he's the greatest defensive player ever. Even Lawrence Taylor and a lot of even Ray Lewis will say it's Reggie White. So I think there is something there that he can make a case that he might be the greatest defensive player of all time. So I just feel like that is something for his price point and what his refractors and game use stuff. Now his autos are really expensive because he died unfortunately pretty young. I didn't have a ton of pack pulled autos, so those are very expensive. But all his other cards to me are pretty cheap. So that was kind of a cool card to pick up. And again, I might get it great, I might not. It's a card that I think I would hold on to a little bit. Or I would send it to like that'd be an example of an SGC card, because it's not worth a ton PSA yet. Maybe as a 10 it's worth enough, but just to get it graded and then hold on to it for a little bit. Now 97 Pinnacle again. This is the regular Pinnacle set, so not the inscription set. But this is the Jerry Rice artist proof. This is the red. Well, it's the red. They did, things a little different here. But this is the artist proof Jerry Rice. Just beautiful. I really love how they did this set, and I have a few other cards. I have a Reggie White from the set actually on ComC, and they just look so cool how they stand out against everything else. And a lot of times their eyes, kind of look like almost like ghost eyes. How they did them. You don't see pupils because of how the Dufex technology works. Just cool to see it. Some really nice football cards. I haven't gotten a lot of 90s football cards lately, so this is kind of fun to pick them up. But I will also say too is that none of these were overly expensive. A lot of these cards were still in that $20 to $40 range for a lot of these football cards, like even Barry Sanders and Reggie White. So next up is we'll do some vintage. So here's some vintage football. First up, Johnny Unitas, SGC 6. I picked this up just for one real reason, is that it looks really nice. Like, I just saw it on for sale. Looked at the back, and it doesn't have a lot of chipping. The red can chip on these cards pretty easily. I thought maybe the back would show more chipping or wear. It's a really nice card. I mean, honestly, I know it's off center top to bottom a little bit. But even if you look at that, I mean, that's probably 80, 20, 70, 30. You can make a case for it that it could be a 7. But it's a really nice, SGC 6. So to me, nothing wrong with that, and I think it's a card that, again, really presents higher than the grade. And that's all you can really ask for in these cards from the 50s and 60s is, do they look like the grade? Do they look like, even the centering on this card doesn't bother me as much because that top of the card is so light that you can't really see a hard line there to make the card look as more off center. So yeah, I think it's a really cool looking card, and I have this card. Honestly, I do have this card in a higher grade, so it's a card I bought just to have some trade material at shows, because you don't see a lot of vintage football. Moving on to baseball, I am actually, and I should do a video on this because I've never showed off my vintage football or my a lot of my pre-war collection, but I am putting this set together. This 34, 35, 34, 36 Diamond Star set. And here's the Joe Cool, Cool, I think it's Cool. In F4. It's a green back, and so, or the green letters on the back. So the letters on the back, the color and the copyright here will tell you what year it is. So the way the set works, and with PSA anyway, is it's a complete set no matter what year you have. Now there's purists out there will say like, well, you should only do 1 year, like one color or back or something would be more accurate because you have a complete set of 1 year. But since it was issued over the course of 3 years, most people consider it to be complete no matter what year or color back you use. So it depends on how much of a stickler you are for having everything be the same. If you're that OCD, then my set probably wouldn't be for you because I don't care what color the backs are. But I'm probably, 40 cards in maybe on this set. I'm not even halfway, but I do like this set a lot, and I'll show it off one day. I think it's a cool thing to go through, just show you off some of the pre-war cards I've been collecting. Besides Chief Bender, I do collect some other stuff in pre-war. Next up, it's a 59 All-Star Ernie Banks. This just came across, and it is really well centered, has great color. So I said, I don't have this card, and again, 50s cards are where I have a hard time, in my collection. Every year when I talk about, collecting goals, getting more 50s cards is always top of the list because I just don't have a ton of them. Comparatively, like for example, like I might have every Ernie Banks from the 60s, but I have like 2 cards from the 50s. So it's just, it's one of those things where, I would love to get, 56 Banks, 57 Banks, 58 Banks, But here's a 59 All-Star, and it's a beautiful card, and it's really nicely centered. Nothing really wrong with this card. It looks like a high-end PSA 8, what I consider to be high-end. And last but not least, for vintage, is this really pretty 61 C&E Koufax in a 7. It's got great focus. The one thing I would say is like this card, if I was going to look at a card to say like, okay, what's the definition of a great focus? This card really has it, because you can see this photo is really nicely in focus. Sometimes I've seen these cards a little out of focus. And then with a lot of print. So the printing quality on this card is super nice. There is, I don't think there's much here. I'm trying to think, is that a print dot there? I'm not sure. It's just part of the photo. But there's only really one major thing wrong with this card, and it's the old SGC PSA Dilemma. And this card is somewhat angle cut. And again, the reason, so down here is a little bit narrower than here. This is narrower than this, so the card is tilted, like cockeyed to the right. So, like I've said before in other videos, SGC does not penalize cards like that as much, and PSA will hammer the hell out of you right now, depending on the grader. But I've seen them just completely obliterate cards like this, drop them down 1 to 2 grades. So like, this might go to PSA and come back a 5, which is ridiculous for what the issue is. The back is almost perfect. So this card's really nice. It's a really nice SGC 7. It's not underneath the holder, which is always a fear when I buy SGC cards. But I don't know, like, if I'd ever cross it over to PSA because of that angle cut. It's not that severe, but it's hard to. PSA is such. I kind of I'll say like jerks right now about how they're looking at these vintage cards and what they're looking for to hammer them, because I think they're really looking for any reason to hammer these cards, because honestly, I think what's going on with PSA right now is they're pop protecting everything on the high end side. I think they've graded enough cards throughout the years that there's a lot of availability. So it's not like they're sitting there saying like, well, like, we're not going to give any cards any ever again because, they don't deserve it. They're saying it that there's like 400 to 500 PSA 8s in this card. So we're going to be very selective about giving anyone else an 8 because we're trying to not have, pop control issues. I honestly think on the vintage side for some of these cards, they're definitely being more critical now because they just don't want their pop counts to double and triple with this grading boom. And maybe it's going to go back to more normal type of, how they used to grade. Maybe we don't want it to go back to that. I don't know. Like, I just know it's an adjustment that everyone's making on the vintage side to get back into how PSA is grading. Because in the past, this little bit of angle cut would have been just fine for PSA. I would not be worried about it. But after seeing some of my cards just get destroyed by PSA, dropping 2 grades in some cases, I'm much more leery about sending a card like that to PSA, because I still think that card looks near mint. I go back to the old days of saying like, well, if I was in the 1990s buying cards like this, most people consider a card like that to be near mint, because it's got 4 nice corners, it's centered okay, good color, good focus, the back looks nice. It's like that would have been pretty universally considered near mint back in the day. And now that we've got grading and all these other things, it's a little more convoluted. Moving on to Griffey now for my last 2 cards. This one's pretty cool. Like, I'm actually surprised this card costs what it did. This is from I believe 2000 MVP. So it's like one of those sets that was a little cheaper. But that set had some game used in it. And this is, and the MVP set, this is the gold version. So this is number to 30. And it is the game used hat, which you don't see that often in game used. And this is the Ken Griffey Jr. game used hat, number 14 to 30. And I found it just so cool that this was like a $50 card or $60 card. It's the gold, so you see the gold, that's why it's numbered so low. But man, it's such a cool card. I mean, that's the fun part about the 90s or early 2000s is you can get a lot of cool cards still for under 50, 60 bucks. I just talked about all those football cards I picked up under like 40 bucks. Here's a Griffey card numbered to 30 that was like less than, I think it was under 60 bucks. Game used, number to 30, just cool. And a hat, which is not very common. That's what I like about this time period. It's just, you can still find lots and lots of good cards, still cheap. And this card is one of those just really nice looking, cool cards back from that time period. And this says, game use cap right there. So this is still game used, back when everything was game used versus player worn and all the stuff we have today. And last but not least is a card I needed for my refractor set. It's $19.99 Bowman Chrome. It's the Diamond Aces Griffey. There you go. Just a cool insert refractor, not numbered, nothing overly special. It's basically barely a 9 based on Beckett's grading. There's the subgrades, but I love the card. I really just like all 90s refractors. So there you go. It's an insert refractor. Just really cool, card that I think, looks nice. I always feel like when we have these kind of cool refractor cards like that, you take it for granted how hard they were to get, because most of these kind of cards were either one per box or one every other box kind of thing. to get the Griffey. Still pretty tough. And then when you go to buy that card, this card is like, still like a $60 or $80 card. So again, showing that there's still ways to get cool cards from this time period under $100. So that's my mail day, guys. A little bit of everything. I do have one really cool card coming in, and I'm on the hunt. I've been working on a deal for, one card specifically for a while. And when I grab it and it comes in, I'll share it with you. And it's a really cool card. I'm hoping you guys like. But yeah, when I get that deal done and get it in, I'll show it to you. Hopefully in the next couple weeks. But until then, I'll see you next time on Cards and Comics. Bye.
She's working on the only macro that pays her taxes. I got some boxer for the money, shining bright and low. Reeling and stumbling, I got some bumper and pull. Don't use words like that. Shame the ways that listen.